If you do not want to change, if you do not want to better yourself, if you do not want to break outside of this matrix, if you want to live in your comfortable delusion that they have built for you, do not watch these videos. Leave this channel. If you do not want any truth, if you don't want to understand, if you are not here to hear something that's outside of your own mind and accept others' minds and opinions, the way they think for themselves, you do not belong. And finally, if you are not trying to be positive, if you are not trying to help create solutions while we discuss problems and how they got here, you do not belong. Negativity, hate, disrespect, name calling, those things will not be allowed here on this platform, and not in this podcast. We are the ones, the true Americans, that want to be free and stand as we have always stood.
Like the fuel to the game, watch it spark. My lines burn like ones getting smoked in the dark. Hella cook your shit up if your ass wanna spar. Barbecue your beef up like the seats in my car. Cool yourself off refrigerator and jar. Baby rappers been acting like this is not an art. You forgot about that part. Lady rappers been acting like this is not an art.
You never know when we gonna start, when we gonna end. It is what it is, my friend. Every day we come, we never know when it's gonna start or go. But just so you guys aren't surprised, one day this show will just randomly not be happening. It will just disappear. I don't know when. I don't know why. I don't know where. But eventually, there will be no more episodes. Right? I know. So enjoy them while you can. Hopefully, they will be here on playback for years to come so you guys can binge out your favorite personality. Just kidding. No, your favorite solutionist. Okay? I'm ahead of my time. That's for sure. Right now, solution-based content is not as popular as it will be in the future. There's another guy, I think, that he's solution-based, but he's not really opening the door for all the truth to come in. All right. I do want to give a shout out to Jack. He does his thing. You got to definitely open up to what the truth is. And not everything is always going to be a peaceful, pacifist type of situation. And once you grow up to see that, you'll start to be able to come up with better solutions. Okay, we can lead with love, but if an ass whooping is necessary so the love can break through some of these harder walls, then yeah, ass whoopings need to be given out. And we can't avoid that. It is what it is sometimes. Okay? All right? And we just have to accept that, man. You know, there's so many people that don't realize that the only way for most of these bad things or bad entities or whatever these bad organizations are, they have to use some sort of violence or overpowering to get their way. Whether it's in a soft power kind of way, like convincing a lot of people that what they believe is wrong, okay? And give them something new to believe in. That happens all the time. That's one of the easiest forms of manipulation. They call it coercion. Yeah. That's one of the things right there. They want us to believe that what we believe is unbelievable. And this new thing that they're injecting is what we should believe, because it's totally believable with the lack of evidence that there is. But don't worry, we can swing it. That's the shit they're on. Believe me, because I said so. And I mean, our parents kind of taught us that a little bit. So there is a group of people inside that are just doing what they're told because that's all they know. And in school, you know, they reinforce that. And it first started with our parents' generation, where they were sent to these schools and it was do what I say, not as I do. So the teachers are constantly contradicting. The adults in real world are constantly contradicting what's being taught in school. And then when you go to higher education, the more manipulative tactics are taught, where it's like, okay, fine. Now, from high school, it's different. This is why real people do this, and this is how you defeat that. And they only really give you identifications, classations, and this instruction book on how to maintain and avoid. They don't give you an interactive manual how to transition or help minds transition from stage to stage or classification to classification. They don't give you solutions in higher learning. They give you more mysteries, but they give you a set amount of instructions that helps you determine and dictate what's in front of you, but not how to deal with it. And then there's certain things they told you. It's like, okay, this is how you do this properly. This is how you do this properly. This is how you do this properly. These are the categories. People follow these categories. Now that you know how to do those categories, you can be leaders in those categories. So when you see this kind of person, do this with them and they will fall into that category for you. And this is how you use people, okay, to get what you want done. And that's all higher learning is. They teach you classifications and manipulations, okay, for subjectations. Yeah, I just made that last one up probably. But that's for the subjective side, where you can kind of just willy-nilly do whatever. But they don't really give you the objective or the objective reasoning behind most things. So this is probably where a lot of people get lost in the sauce. And this is where we lose common sense. Common sense is a predetermined notion about most things based off of the interactions with it. So you can have common sense about the sky. You can have common sense about colors. You can have common sense about archaeology, or all these different kinds of theologies and principles that people live by, because you can see their actions. You know, a tree will bear its fruit. Good fruit for a good tree, bad fruit for a bad tree. So it's that simple. Okay, this is where common sense comes in. We can literally observe what's happening and judge and categorize based off of what we see. Okay, this is how we come up with hypotheses and different forms of testable science, because we can clearly see this thing happens under these specific conditions. Well, let's see if these are the only conditions it can happen in under. Maybe we can have this same action happen under different parameters or different conditions. And if those conditions breed that same reaction, now we have, you know, a provable, hey, this can happen anywhere. But if you need those specific conditions to get that reaction, now we're getting into the science of things, where it's just like, okay, this has to happen for this to happen, for that to happen. Okay? Because some things can't just happen everywhere. That's how we can get our breakdowns. But there's something that us as people, we're missing this part right here. We're not really looking at science the way it needs to be looked at. We're looking at science as fact, not looking at science as a way to figure out or figure. Because they're trying to fact some shit with science, but we're trying to figure, because the scientific figures, well, these things happen under these conditions. Yeah, that's what science is for. So we can explain how things are happening, when they would happen, why they would happen, and things like that. So that way we can now predict or determine or have a certainty, okay? A fact. Because, hey, if you got the sun, you got some water, you got some dirt and a seed, and bam, something happens. And that seed will grow. But given, not enough water, now the seed will die. Given not enough sun, the seed will die. Given not enough soil, the seed will die. Or won't grow properly. Or it will have a misshape. Or will have, see, all these different conditions bear on the seed. The seed doesn't change. But the lighting, the soil, and all the other mechanics can. So we have to figure out the science to make that seed be its strongest that it could be. What makes a tree so tall and strong and blah, blah, blah. So we have to observe in different settings. And then if we look at different trees, they have different biologies based off of the different areas and the climates and the dependent variables. We need to remember what science actually is. Because science is not God. It never was God. But science has proven God time and time again. And they keep trying to cover up God. I don't know why they're trying to cover up God so bad. Maybe because the devil runs the world. And if he can't put a cap on this Jesus talk, and Jesus is provable, then that means the Bible is real. Then that means the devil is found out. That means everybody's actively making a choice now. And if everybody actively makes a choice, that ushers in itself the end of the world. Because now it's light versus darkness, and you have to pick a side. There is no more confusion. There is no more in between. And you'll start to see how that changes the geography of the world. The different political scheme, it changes everything. If we have to lean or choose between Christianity and everything else, things start to change. Fundamentally, this is where our world is coming to that head. We're gonna have to choose our morality. That's what this is all building up to. I don't think a lot of people realize that. And the people that do realize it, they would say something: we battle not against the flesh, but against principalities. And that's the first thing they say is principalities. Principles, root word. That is the first thing they say. Why do they say it's principles we battle? That is the mind. That is what we believe. That is what we have determined to be the truth of the world. And if the truth of the world is what everybody has to live by, and Jesus is not the truth of the world, then what does that mean ultimately? This is the determination we have to come to. This is the whole point of most of these podcasts. This is the whole point of entertainment. This is the whole point of learning and searching and family. It is to find a moral compass. And you don't find that moral compass or settle down until you get older. After you've made so many ripples in your life that you actually have to find a balance, or else, and most people come to that around 30 years old. It's that or else. Like 29, when you have your 30th birthday, you're just like, or else. And you're just like, yo, you know everything at 30. From a woman's perspective, you know if you're about to have kids. You know if you had enough kids. You know if you want more kids. You know if you want commitment. Shit like that. By the time you're 30, as a woman, you know. As a man, you know. Okay? If you're still just trying to figure shit out, you have not grown since you have been 21. And you have not grown since you have been 18. Most people don't realize by the time you're 21, you should be a different person than you were, 100% than you were at 18, unless you already had your shit together at 18 and you're just coming to your climax. But by 30, you know what the fuck is up. And that's the truth. Whether you dropped out or graduated or career, whatever it is, you know, by the time you're 30, you know what's up. It's either time to hit it or quit it, right? And that's really the bottom line. A lot of people haven't hit that 30 wall yet, and they're even banking on, like, you know, when I'm 30, I'll figure it out, right? Because they're just going with that flow because they would have figured it out by the time they got 30. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. It's cool. Swing, batter, swing. Because you're up at the plate and you either knock it out the park or you strike out and you got to wait for your turn to swing again. And you never know when opportunity knocks. Okay? You might be stuck in left field for a long time with no action. Watching people just knock it out the park, left and right. Damn. Down by 30, bro. Type shit. That shit happens. It's not like you want it to happen or you're planning for it to happen. Even when you're planning for success, shit happens and it just doesn't turn out the way you want. That's fine. Now, here's the bounce back. The bounce back is when you can say, all right, look, I'm going to go ahead and take an extra second. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take an extra second. I'm going to think. I'm going to think deep. Because if I do not take this next step and win, I'm going to lose. Right? Now, here's the thing. Losing isn't a bad thing, okay? Because you can learn how to win from losing. That's apparent. Right? Sometimes you have to fail to succeed. Sometimes you have to fail to succeed. Okay? The more you fail, the more you see what success doesn't look like. When you finally do see success, something different. See? That's when it's like, okay, you know what? Maybe we could do this. Maybe we got something here. Just maybe. And how could you tell if you got something if you never really took a moment to actually, like, okay, let me look. Let me really look. Okay, what are you looking at? When you're looking for something, what are you looking at? Are you looking at the object? Are you looking past the object? Are you looking at what the object is? Are you looking for the game behind the object? Are you looking at the events or the people that are around the object? The objective. What is the focus? Without the focus, you can't accomplish. Well, what are you trying to accomplish? Do you need those events to happen around that object? Do you need the people to show up around the object? Is there a spot, a weakness in the armor? Are you trying to attack? Or is it more like, okay, I need to defend in this position right here. Boom, so I can have my goal succeed. Like a counterpunch. See, now we're starting to get strategic. Something we have to take into account is the other side of strategy. If you know you need to be on the defense, now you need to see, let me study the attacks. Let me study what I need to defend against. Now I can come up with my art. So whenever I hear a certain word, bam, gotcha, stopped it. Bam, gotcha, stopped it. But if you are not going to study the art of the attack, how could you better understand where you need to defend? What position your hands need to be in to block a certain shot? Or maybe it's a shoulder movement to the side and then boom, it glances past you. And we're not talking about physical fights here. We're talking about mindsets and stances against certain ideologies. Okay? Now, if you don't know the ideology that you're up against, how could you effectively defend against it? If you don't know the patterns in which the opposition is moving, or the different angles they could take and the different postures that are available, how could you know what to defend against? Now, what we're doing over here, we're truly opening up the realm of critical thinking. This is how we critically think. These are things that we need to be worried about. All right? If we're not actively assessing situations, then we are not able to be on the defense or understand the offense, because people are very offensive. Okay? They say, oh, you're defensive because you're not taking the beating. Because remember, a lot of people are offensive. They want to be on the offense because they are either champion, they have championed plenty of topics, they are they've proven themselves in a battleground of some sorts when it comes to debate or blood sports. They have some sort of educational certificate that they're very proud of. These are the type of people that will come. They're already geared. They're on the offense. They've studied their field and they're ready to chop people down with it. Now, if you don't know their fighting style, it's a mental bout. If you don't know their fighting style, then how could you truly defend? How could you be defensive, right? Everybody thinks I'm defensive, but no, it's not that I'm defensive, bro. I just know your offensive fighting style and I'm just countering your shit and you don't like that. So you think I'm defensive because I'm countering your offense is fucking crazy. But hey, if that's defensive and you're just mad because I'm countering your offensive, that's not, I mean, it's not illegal. I'm allowed to do that. When you're coming with some offensive shit, I'm allowed to be like, yo, what you're saying isn't true. I mean, I get it. Like in the situations you've been in before, maybe that might have played ball, but here right now in the situation with me, it doesn't work because of this. And now your position has been altered and you feel uncomfortable. I apologize for that. I know your game. Now, if you come up with a completely different point that has nothing to do with whatever in the fuck I'm talking about, I will indulge your fucking fantasy land and I won't say anything relative to what I'm talking about. I will just jump in your la la land with all the bullshit you're talking about, stating some things that are aligned or fucking something to do with what you just brought up. And now you're telling me I'm crazy because I'm off topic, but nigga, you brought that up. So here's the thing. When you're dealing with me, we either on topic or whatever you say, that's where we're going. Because I'm going to go there with you. Oh, okay, that's what you think. All right, bet. So let's talk about that for a second. No. Oh, now you don't want to talk about it, but you brought it up, though. See what I'm saying? So you can't go on the offense if you don't want to get countered. And then you can't call somebody defensive if they stop your offensive attack. Bruh, you making moves and you think I'm not finna just be like, gotcha. We doing that now. You feel me? So it's like, what are you expecting? Are you expecting to just roll over? You know? It's crazy too. When I go up to panels, these motherfuckers think they funny. These motherfuckers think they funny. Real shit. Hold on 1 second. All right, guys, my bad. I'm back. I had to adjust a few things right there. My situation just changed. I had to fix a light and shit. You know how it is. Shit just be happening. But we'll get back to this. It was an incredible rant. I won't lie. Okay, but it was point. There's a point. Now, the best part about this is once we get people back into creative thinking, we'll be able to have true conversations. And the shame of bringing up a topic that people are uncomfortable with, that's serious, that has weight, like Jesus, morality, these kinds of things, these people will be less offended, or less offensive, I should say, because the people that are on the offense, right? They've studied their field, they know everything there is to know about it. They have this certificate. They feel like a champion. They've championed the topic against many people. They've won these arguments, conversations, and they're used to being right. So when we go onto those panels, they can be a little bit judgmental. They can do this thing where they go on the offense and they'll try to attack your character to try to test your mettle. When I say your mettle, it's like, how strong are you in your confidence? Because most people, knowledge is power. Okay? There's a huge thing out there in the world where there's knowledge is power. This is the intellectual mind that is taught to the rich people, right? Or if we go by classes, there's the lower class. These are the people that are they find themselves stuck between uneducated and common sense barrier. So it can be a lack of common sense, right? And then there's your commoner. They're not the low class. They're just your commoner, where they have common sense because they have like a general education of sorts, and they have a situational awareness where they are actually actively analyzing situations they're in. So they're making said decisions that are based off of the analytics of that situation. So there's an intuitive, like with the common person. And then there's the uncommon person, right? This uncommon person is of a higher knowledge realm, or you could even say a higher capacity for computative power or cognitive ability increased. These are people that are really freaking smart, whether they have educate or whether they have that indoctrination certificate or not. That's what we call college, indoctrination certificate, because they only give you like what the different classifications are, how to tell if somebody falls into that classification, and how to manipulate that person into fulfilling that classification so you can move forward. Okay, so that's all college teaches you, how to use people to get what you want done. It's really it. It's not anything like super intellectual. No, it's just like, hey, this is a doctor, and as a doctor, you're gonna need surgeon, you're gonna need your billing and coding guy, you're gonna need da-da-da. And they're basically telling you the different classes and their mentalities and the best fits for those and stuff like that. They'll go into psychology of things like that. That's why you have to have certain 101s done. Psychology 101, philosophy 101, and all these 101s, because you have to have a small taste of that realm, the basic definitions and classifications, so you can understand those type of people when you see them, put them in those boxes, and utilize them accordingly. This is how you get ahead. That's what college is. And they make you pay them for this information because it makes you feel like you've earned something. Because if they just let you come in and you just learned it, then what the fuck? Like, would that make you feel any different, or you just know some shit? Well, I could have did this on the internet at home, right? And then there's those people that are doing this on the internet at home. They're not getting any kudos. They're not getting any notoriety because they don't have a certificate that they paid for. Okay? And somebody else basically said, hey, I'll give you this test. Okay, this is the material. And if you can do this process right here, boom, we'll give you a piece of paper that says you're the man. All right? But you got to pay for that. That's it. You just got to pay for it and pass the test. Whether you turn the work in or not, that doesn't matter. You just got to pass the test and do the work. That's it. Show them that you can handle it. And then they'll sign you the piece of paper. A lot of people go to school online and go at your own pace. They'll go to certain classes because it's a lecture. You got to do it in person. They'll get the assignment. They'll fucking rush the assignment. And they'll go in there. They'll talk with the teacher. And then they'll ask the teacher, hey, what do I need to do to study for the test? And that's it. You get ready for the test. And really, college is a couple tic-tacs, like literally, like a week of the shit we be doing, researching, bro. We could pass a class, bro. We could pass a class a week if we just stuck to that class, had all the time in the world. We just focused. We got all the fucking paperwork, and we could go through the test. Boom, 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 boom. And we'll just knock shit out. Why? Because we wouldn't have to worry about bills or anything like that. No, fuck that. Let's just go to school. Oh, yeah. School's easy. So while you're young, as a kid, right? What I'm saying, especially a man, while school is cheaper, while you're young, go to school. Get as much as you can done at school. Do all your friends hanging out. Everything. Enjoy, indulge. Fucking do school, bro. School is gonna be the best place for you as a young man. Now, as a girl, this is where it gets complicated. All right? I love women. I love my ladies, black women, whatever, doesn't matter your color. I love you women. Look, school is like a daycare for y'all, okay? School is the place where you could find your true husband, okay? But you gotta start early, like high school, and then there's a little bit of college where you could find your husband. Is that one guy who's always up under you, never has any females around him and shit. He's always right there. That's the guy that wants to be with you like forever. And he's right there in your face most of the time, ladies. And you could easily just get that guy, put him on the program you want him on. He will be the man you want him to be. You have an opportunity. High school, college is where it's like dudes are just trying to fuck. Unless he's your high school sweetheart and y'all transition into college. Be as loyal as you can, ladies. I understand horny, big, sexy, tall guys, whatever. But if you have that one dude that's already just, you're everything he ever wanted, fucking hold that dude. You got his heart right now. He's going to be loyal to you. And make sure you keep him away from other bitches. Or make sure you drain that nigga so he ain't never got nothing left for the next bitch. This is how you hold your spot. All right. In the meantime, all you do is focus on learning. Okay. Prepare yourself for children. Because if he's the guy that you want and he's sitting here striving to be the guy that you want him to be, that's your husband. And you should definitely be ready to lock it in. Make sure you got him on a path. First, it could be Walmart. Then it could be whatever. Then it's the warehouse. Now it's he's got his freaking doctorate or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You could even, have your part-time job if you want to. That's fine. But be settling down. Be in that settling down mode. Because right when he could be working right now. He doesn't have to have a BA or all this other shit. He could do that shit when he retires. Okay? He could just be paying the bills. You could be having your babies going to college, doing your thing on your whole scholarship and shit. This is how you build your family. You're pregnant, you're doing your online school, the kids are going to school, blah, blah. He's already paying the bills because he has a decent job that's getting him to the next, just some steps. All you need to do is just be doing steps. And then right when the kids are old enough, right when you have your master's or whatever, you can hit the workforce if you want to. You guys have plenty of kids. He's coming to a point to where he's halfway to retirement off of this little lame ass job. Maybe he's sick of it by now. It's been 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Now you could do the check-in. Now the kids are about 12, 15 and shit like that. Now maybe he's a manager. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. Whatever. There is opportunity in the simple while you're young. And now you're already a family and you guys have a goal. You're already being built. By the time he's 30, okay, you're not far behind as a woman. Maybe you guys went to high school together, y'all the same age. Now you're 30, you already have 5 kids. You know what I'm saying? You about to have your master's and he's looking at another promotion. You guys need more space or whatever it is. Whatever. But these things are workable. All you need to do is have that guy that's really about you, really in love with you. But ladies, this only happens for y'all in high school and like right before college. So if y'all find him, the guy that's up under you, he ain't got no other females around, find that guy and just be like, all right, look, I'll fuck with you. I just need you to at least be able to do this. When he's 18, he can go and get a warehouse job. That's enough to have an apartment and be chilling while you going to school and y'all could be humping and having babies. Okay? And leveling up slowly over the years. Now y'all have a plan. Now y'all locked in. See what I'm saying? But if this is not the American dream, right? Then what is? That's where we're fucking up. Okay? We don't have a vision of what the American dream is. The people are confused. It's like, be a millionaire by the time you're 30 and have kids when you're 50. What? I don't get how that works. I don't get how that's gonna work, especially for the females. I mean, I get it for men, right? But for women, have kids when you're 50 and be a millionaire before that is crazy. It's a lot of pressure for a young lady. I mean, she'd be better off like finding a guy that fell in love with her when she was 18 and letting him take care of her. And then she could just go to school and shit and do whatever she wants later in life after she has her kids. Plenty of time. Why? Because we still have to replace the people because we're all gonna die eventually. So if we get all that out the way first, you got your bounce back years, you're 30, you're looking good, you got your education, you already got kids, you're a MILF now. You know what I'm saying? And then you can kind of just do what you want. Tie your tubes, who cares? You already have 5 kids. Nobody gives a fuck. And then you're just free use. And you can just go party, do whatever. It's already done. For the men, it's like, put in your work. Don't be a millionaire right away. Have all your kids. If she decides to divorce you right when you're making your transition into the big dollars, perfect. Now you can shake that bitch off and go have fun. You feel me? It works out in both people's best interests. Okay? High school sweethearts. Y'all kids is 20. Y'all in your 40s. You know, it is what it is. Fuck it. You know what I'm saying? But at least she's not taking all your millions and billions and y'all fighting over one kid and didn't even have kids. You wasted all these years and no, fuck that. Okay? Fuck that. All right? It's better for society to fucking have young women have babies and old ladies give up coochie. And it's better that way. Just be an old hoe versus being a young slut. Trust me, it's better that way. Because at least you had all your kids and ain't nobody gonna judge you for busting it wide open because you horny. That's different than if you just busting it wide open because you trying to get money. Fuck that, ladies. Go find the guy that wants to either be with you, have babies with you, or go find the guys you want to have babies with. Okay, whether they're gonna take care of them or not, single mom by choice, whatever it is. But have your kids while you're young, so at least you can have your fun and be less responsible when you're older. Because as you get older, if you take responsibility towards the end, it's gonna suck. All right. Me, I wish I had kids, more kids, I should say, at a younger age, because then I'd be able to like show them shit. And I'm still young enough to be like, yo, let me take, let's, you know. But I'm gonna be an old dad when I get serious about this shit. But here's the cool part. I'm probably gonna be pretty wealthy at that point, so it's not really gonna matter. I mean, like, I gotta have somebody to get his money to, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, damn, I guess, you know, I'm just finna be scooping up randoms like, hey, yo, look, I'm finna put a baby in you. Is that cool? Okay, all right, bet. And then it's just gonna be like that, like, whatever, bro. I'm just gonna, hey, yo, let me get this baby real quick. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. Like, really, that's it. I don't have no reason to play with it. If Shorty want to stick around, she can stick around, but you know, I ain't finna force nothing. I'm just finna say, hey, my kids is living with me, and you can live with us if you want to. But if we're not together, I'm not sure how many other women are gonna be living here with me and my kids. So you might have to be okay with that. That's a different scenario though, because if I'm paying the bills and you don't have to worry about shit, then shouldn't be no complaints at all. You know what I'm saying? All that young me and trying to do all this extra shit, all that shit's over, baby. Look, I'm about to drop some D, have my kids, everybody finna be chilling up in the crib, and it is what it is. All my baby mamas gonna have to get along because all my kids live in the same house. And that's just the way it is. And y'all could be in y'all respective room with your respective kid, whatever. I don't give a fuck. It's a complicated mess. That's what they say, but they'll figure it out. Because I ain't playing with y'all. All right? But this is just the new way that things are just gonna have to be this way. Nobody wanted to plan it like this, but that's just the way it is, because I don't see like the way women are right now, the way they act, and like how untrustworthy the mass majority of women are. I don't see me like on paper legally marrying another woman ever. I don't give a fuck. That's where it's at. Like, okay, look, I love women. I love you. Don't get me wrong. Shit, I might even die for you, but I'm not finna put my name on a piece of paper. I don't think it's relevant. Sorry. I mean, if it's the birth certificate for our baby, sure. That we can call that our marriage certificate. I signed the birth certificate, didn't I? You know what I'm saying? Type shit. And I was there. I took care of the baby, right? How could you hate me? You know, we still having conversations, you in my face, shit like that. So it's not like I don't like you. It's just that I don't want the government to say that I like you. Because according to the government, I don't like nobody. I don't even like them. Okay? And I don't want to make nobody jealous. Yeah, we could fight that fight all day. And back and forth. I don't give a fuck. Look. You here, right? Who else is here? We got a baby, right? Who else got a baby with me? See what I'm saying? It's like, it's that shit right there. It's that shit right there. Where it's just like, you not, you know what I'm saying? You not like everybody else in the world. And you already have a part of me that I can never take away from you. Like, enjoy that shit. Feel fucking special. That, there's so many female, I'm talking about fine as fuck, that should have my baby right now. But my ass was pulling out, and I wasn't playing with these hoes and shit like that. Oh, they told me not to, you know, and trust me, I didn't quite a few times. But nothing ever came of those situations. As far as like the relationship between me and that person, it was just like we knew what we were there for. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't anything beyond that. And it was just one thing that had to happen, which happened. And then we were both moving on with our lives. And there's a lot of people that understand that, which is why a lot of women will just fuck you real quick and never talk to you again and pretend like they never fucked you. It's cool. I get it. Trust me. I've done the shit to bitches too. Because it's like, look, I know we ain't finna stay together, but can we hit? Like, this shit gonna feel good. Like, come on, let's just knock that. And then she's like, all right, whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I don't know why females go for that shit, but they do. It is what it is, man. And sometimes it's just like, look, all right, well, let's get wet real quick and then move on. And then, you know, if you want to hit me up later, then you can hit me up later. If it's something, it's something. You know, if you like it enough to hit me back, then shit, we doing it. And, you know, I've been hanging out. I've had homegirls. I've got homegirls. It's just like, I don't like talking about it, though. Because if ain't nothing coming from it, then what's the point of dwelling on it? You know? So it's not like men are out here just trying to be hoes. It's just that the women are out here just trying to, they're just trying to live their best life. That's what they call it. And it's just like, you know, they fucking until they fuck the right person. And then, you know, then they're going to want commitment. Because it's like, okay, I think I found the dick I wanted. Now stay with me and only me. And that's not how it works. I don't see why they don't see that. Okay? It is what it is. But this is something that they have to grow up and realize. They get older. And then they start realizing, okay, well, I can smash whenever I want to smash. And then their sex drive goes down. And then they start letting the little niggas hit because it's young, it's fun, it's exciting because like it's somebody's son that they turning out. And that's when you get these grandmas and these old aunties that are just getting beat out by these little niggas. And these little niggas is practicing on their asses. And then they go find some little young thing, talk all the shit that they was talking to auntie and just beat her down. And it's a ever-ending circle. It's the same hoes, right? Fucking with the same type of niggas, except it's fucking years and years, and it's continuing the circle. So all these young niggas that are tall and all ghetto and shit, they fucking on these old ladies. Yeah, they fucking on the old ladies. They friends, auntie or whatever, and boom, boom, and they doing all kinds of shit. It's crazy. It's real. It's happening. It's a thing. Women aren't gonna talk about it. They're not gonna say, oh, I let my, no, they ain't gonna say that. You know what I'm saying? Unless they fucking proud about it. And then they'll tell their little friends and their friends come over and they, you know, take turns with niggas. It's like that. I'm telling you. Females is nasty. And the older they get, the nastier they get. Okay? So, as a man, when you get older, it's gonna be different for you. All right? You ain't gonna be beating down the youngest things unless you giving her money. It's not happening like that. You feel me? And then these old ones, they just want to get took down. Don't get me wrong, but they want a nigga that got energy. So as you get older as a man, it's gonna be a lot harder for you to get it in general. Unless you have something that they want. And it's not the looks. Okay? And they could get dick anywhere. See what I'm saying? So this is where it gets harder for men, period. So as you get older, you want to be more successful in general as a man, so you could get this shit and keep your sanity. Marriage is a good thing for a man for his long term, his later life. That marriage is good for his later life. Okay? For his younger life, marriage is something that is reserved for like true love. Like when you got your high school sweetheart, it's okay to marry her, bro. You're good. You can stay with her forever. Now, she might switch up later, but get your kids out the way and get all that shit out the way first. And then y'all can figure that shit out when you're 30. Honestly, that's probably the best advice I have for younger people. Fucking get busy, have your babies now, find that fucking dude that's all about you, ride with him till y'all 30 something, have kids and shit, whatever. And then elevate that man. If you can get him on top of the shit you want him to be on, baby girl, you did it. You made it, and you could just chill up under your nigga. If he, you get to a certain point, kids are old enough, you're old enough, and he's stable enough. You got your education now. You've been going to school while the kids are going to school, and you want to leave him. Fine, do that shit, but don't take his money. Don't make it hard for him. Just make it easy. You got yourself together. Y'all had kids. Y'all had a good whatever life last 20 years. Blah blah blah. And I'm 40 now, nigga, and I want to go get some young dick. That's cool. Do that. Figure that shit out. He might want to just stay to stay. Fine, stay with him. Unless you really don't want to be an adulteress, then you gotta divorce the nigga. Swingers, y'all could do that shit. Figure something out. Maybe it's salvageable. Okay? Maybe he's thinking the same thing. Okay, well shit, let's stay married, but you go smash, I'll smash, and we can meet back up in the middle whenever. Okay? Like, you know what I'm saying? There's situations like that. That's not bad. That's not bad. Look, you and your wife, that's different. You see what I'm saying? Y'all came to this conclusion or whatever. It's a deal. I don't know. All I'm saying is relationships can be complicated. They have ups and downs, lefts and rights, lots of emotions. But give yourself the opportunity to be the best you can be. And getting all the young stuff out of the way first is the best way. That's all the sex and all the kids and all the other shit, whatever partying get. The partying and shit can go later, honestly. You could party any fucking time, honestly. So, like, get all the kids and all the heavy lifting out the way, the real work. That bullshit job you have to have for a little while to pay for the apartment and have that struggle with your woman, like, and the kids and the food and the shit like that. These are things that help build character. Now you guys have stories and you guys have overcome something. There was a bit of a struggle, things like that. She was by your side. She got a part-time job when you started trying to look for another job, blah, 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 whatever. And then boom, all of a sudden you got this, whatever. See what I'm saying? And then she was going to school and the baby and you know what I'm saying? And now y'all 30 and y'all done been through some shit, accomplished some shit. Y'all, you know what I'm saying? You know what it's like to have to be in there and have somebody's back and have somebody your back and, this back and forth, the give and take. It's a beautiful thing, but you can't earn those stripes unless you go through it. Oh, this is hard, and you just leave. What? You left that nigga high and dry? Like, what? Like, or you got mad, or you got fucking some lame shit. She's pregnant, and you're just like, oh, I can't handle this right now, blah, 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 because you a pussy or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever, bro. Squash all that shit. Man up, okay? Be the family that you always wanted. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's a struggle. Look at what our parents were going through at our age. You feel me? Yeah, I know. Looking back, I don't want to be like them. Well, guess what? They're in your DNA. You are like them. Okay? Now, what choices are you going to make that are different from the ones they made? Okay? Because having a baby isn't up to you. If somebody ends up pregnant, that's not a you thing. Yes, y'all was humping, but it's not guaranteed that somebody's going to get pregnant when you fuck. It's never guaranteed. People try for years and never have. I'm talking about busting deep and never. I've busted deep and still haven't had children from those females. And I'm talking about like, yo, you feel me? And I know I got a female pregnant before, and I know that female was pregnant before, and we was busting. I was all in it, and she ain't come up pregnant after all that. So it's like, all right, bet. So God chooses when you have a baby. So embrace that shit when you get the opportunity. That's the truth. But it's Thursday, and we gotta bust into this shit. We gotta do our problem solving event. Okay? Y'all ready for this shit? Cause this is where it's getting wild. Cause we gotta bring Claude in here, cause did nobody come up? Did nobody hit the link? You know what I'm saying? We need to solve some problems today. All right, let's see where we at. All right, Claudia. Let's see. Yo, we're on a new episode of the Brainstorm, and we are doing our problem solving event. This is the quick fire problem solving event. Go ahead and start us off. We'll do 10 of the toughest problems in the United States right now that are being discussed for the people and the ones that are going to be what they're running on office, right? Let's see. What you got? Top 10.
All right, quickfire. Let's rip through the top 10 issues actually driving political campaigns and public debate in the US right now. All right, quickfire. Here's the top 10 based on what's actually driving the 2026 midterm cycle right now. Number 1, the economy and affordability. This is dominating everything. Prices, cost of living, wages. Number 2, tariff policy and its ripple effects on prices and jobs. Number 3, immigration and border enforcement, especially reactions to aggressive crackdowns. Number 4, healthcare costs specifically, separate from the broader economy. Number 5, abortion rights, still a major mobilizing issue in a lot of states. Number 6, gun control. Number 7, climate and energy policy. Number 8, election integrity and trust in the voting process itself. Number 9, housing affordability, which is really its own crisis, inside the bigger economic one. And number 10, healthcare access more broadly, insurance coverage, and the future of programs like Medicaid. Want me to go deeper on any single one of these, since quickfire only gets us the headline on each?
Yeah, we could go one at a time, starting from the top one. I have some questions here, like on a common sense level. I'm not sure common sense is common anymore, but on a common sense level, these are issues that should have been done and dealt with many years ago and many actual administrations ago. And I'm confused on why these are still issues.
Yeah, that's a fair frustration, and honestly, there's a real reason behind it. It's not just political inertia for its own sake.
Sure.
Take affordability specifically. A lot of what's driving it now in housing costs, healthcare costs, wage stagnation relative to prices are structural problems that built up over decades, not something one administration created or could fix in a single term. Housing supply shortages trace back to zoning laws from the 70s and 80s. Healthcare cost growth has been outpacing wages since roughly the 1980s. So each administration inherits a problem that's already compounding, applies a partial fix, and then it becomes the next administration's problem too, because the underlying structural issue was never actually resolved, just managed. Want me to dig into why housing specifically has been such a stubborn one, since that seems to be near the root of a lot of this?
I don't know. I feel like we're getting into some subjective waters. If housing is one of the biggest issues, then we shouldn't have so many empty ones. Actually, let's see how many empty houses and empty apartments are across America.
Good quickfire question. Let's get you a real number. So there are roughly 15 million vacant homes in the US right now, about 1 in 10 housing units, according to recent census data. But here's the catch. Most of those aren't actually available or usable to fix the shortage. About 4.7 million are seasonal or vacation homes people own but don't live in full time. Others are tied up in estate disputes, awaiting renovation, sitting in declining rural areas with no jobs nearby, or simply in the wrong location entirely. Empty houses in a shrinking Ohio town don't help someone priced out of Austin or Denver, so the vacancy number is real, but it's mostly a mismatch problem, not 15 million move-in ready solutions sitting idle.
Okay, well, how many actual homes and apartments do we have in America in total? That's a good question.
I think I'm gonna ask that. All right, how many houses and apartments, including condos and everything, all of our living units, how many do we have in America, including RVs and mobile homes?
So the total is around 146.7 million housing units in the US, and that census figure already folds in mobile homes as part of the standard count. Of those, about 132.7 million are occupied and roughly 14 million are vacant, which lines up with what we just talked about. RVs are trickier since they're usually only counted as housing if someone's living in one as a permanent residence, not just parked for road trips, so the official number undercounts RV dwellers a bit, but the vast bulk of the 146 million is houses, apartments, and condos.
Yeah, I want to know about how many RVs and different trailers that are campers are sitting in all these lots. How many do we have available? And all of these other homes, mini homes, and things like that. How many of those? Add those to the full count because I want to count how many actual houses we have that could be used or lived in America versus how many people that are American citizens are in America, and then let's see how many of those people don't have housing so we can see if we have a housing match here.
Got it, let's pull the pieces since this needs a few different numbers stitched together. All right, here's the full picture stitched together. Total housing units in America, houses, apartments, condos, mobile homes combined, sit around 146.7 million. On top of that, about 8 to 11 million households own an RV. Though the RV industry itself is clear that RVs aren't classified as housing, so they mostly sit outside that official count, parked at homes, storage lots, campgrounds, rather than serving as primary residences. Now for the population side. The US has roughly 340 million people, and HUD's most recent count found about 745,000 people experiencing homelessness on a single night. So when you set housing units against population, there are vastly more homes than there are homeless people by orders of magnitude, which is exactly the mismatch we flagged earlier. It's not a raw supply shortage nationally, it's that available housing isn't in the same location, price range, or condition as the people who need it.
That's not where I'm going with this. I'm actually going somewhere with this. I'm trying to find out because we have 300 plus million American citizens and we have 150 plus million homes altogether. I'm talking about including the RV sitting unsold in the RV lots across the nation. So we should have enough housing for everybody. And if we did something as small as an RV kind of claim where we can get certain people into RVs or into these campers or whatever, and we can do something similar to that. So these trailers and these RVs aren't just sitting unsold in these lots, depreciating over time. This is one of the packages that we could actually implement. I'm not all the way thought on it, but it's an idea that just popped up in my head. So I am thinking that if we can, especially with the apartments and the condos, like do a subsidized kind of situation. We already have them, obviously, but there are certain issues that we're running into that are holding these things back. Certain places can't be zoned or permitted and things like that. So we need to alleviate some of this stress if we really want to get to the root of the problem. But I really think that compared to all the RVs that are sitting in these lots and all these different areas that are freaking junkyards having all these different campers and all this, there's so many lots that just have RVs and trailers and all these different like homes, apartments that are not being utilized And it's not because somebody owns it and it's just sitting there. There is a bunch of empty vacancies that are just being empty and vacant because of different things like pricing and whatnot. And these are the things I want to shine a light on. But this is a bigger issue.
Yeah, it really is, because it means the fix isn't just build more houses, which is the easy political talking point. It's actually a distribution and affordability problem. Vacant homes sitting in declining Rust Belt towns while homelessness concentrates in expensive coastal cities like Los Angeles and New York. Plus, a huge chunk of that vacant stock is investor-owned, seasonal or deliberately held off market. That's a much harder problem to solve politically, because it means dealing with zoning, corporate ownership of housing stock, and regional economic decline all at once, not just breaking ground on new construction. Want to go deeper into the investor ownership piece, since that's become a real flashpoint in this election cycle?
Well, here's the thing. This is getting really bad because there's a select few bad actors that are making it hard for the good actors. It's one thing to have a summer home and a winter home, right? That's one thing. I get that. 2 houses, sure. But when you have, okay, you can have an RV, fine. You're driving across the country to your other house. Who knows, right? That's fine. But there's a certain point where we should have a certain amount of, what is it? What am I looking for? Dignity, honor, respect, or even just like moderation. It's not against the law to be greedy, but it should be. It's not against the law to extort people, or is it? Because being greedy leads to extortion in a lot of different ways. Greed is a thing where it's bad. It's always been morally obsolete. So it's like, you're morally bankrupting yourself off of your greed. If you have 2 houses, can you live in 2 houses at the same time? Right? If you have 2 cars, can you drive 2 cars at the same time? I'm not saying that you can't have 2 cars. I'm just saying 3 cars is a little much. You know what I'm saying? Unless there's a specific use for that car, like that's a work this, or this is your you have a quick car for comfort, you have your truck for moving your other things, you have a SUV for your family. That's different. I get that. But when you have 15 different sports cars and all this stuff, and there's really nothing you're doing with them, you're not like racing them, you're not doing shows and stuff, like that's kind of irrelevant. It's unique, I guess. It's a different car. That's fine. It's like collecting toys. But when does it get to a point to where it is excessive? Now there's millions of cars out there, so I'm not really talking about cars. I'm talking about mostly living situations. You know what I'm saying? There's a certain point to where you can't live in all these houses, and if you just want to own houses to rent them and stuff like that or whatever, that's where you should have an apartment complex. That seems more like it. Because it's like, hey, anybody can have an apartment complex. It's a facility. It has multiple apartments in there. People can be there as long as they want, as long as they need. And it's a bigger housing property. I think that's fair. Now, how many apartment complexes do you need? That doesn't really matter because you're providing houses for a lot of different people. And you can make your profit doing it. But having single family homes that you're just renting out, that makes it feel like you're taking away that person's dream when they could have been buying that house at a cheaper rate with a mortgage, and now they have their foot in the door. Now if that's your summer home, your renter home, I got you. That's cool, whatever. 2 houses, all right. You got kids, and 2 different locations because of regional differences. Awesome. That sounds something liable, something legal, something that's like, I get that. Who wants to be snowed in, right? But there's the other side of that coin where you're taking
the roof from somebody else's head now.
No, I think you're actually articulating something a lot of housing economists take seriously. There's a real distinction between owning a couple homes for actual use versus operating as a landlord, buying up single-family homes purely as an investment vehicle at scale. And that second category has become a real political flashpoint recently. Institutional investors, private equity firms buying thousands of single-family homes in bulk, specifically to rent them out rather than build new supply. Your apartment complex point is actually the key distinction economists make too. Multifamily construction adds net new housing units to a market, but an investor buying an existing single-family home just converts a potential starter home into a permanent rental. It doesn't add supply, it just changes who's locked out of ownership. A few states, and even some federal proposals, have actually started targeting that specific practice, taxing or restricting bulk single-family purchases by corporations, precisely because of the dynamic you're describing.
So now that we know this is actually an issue, because that's my only concern. I mean, an apartment complex provides multiple living spaces for people, so I understand that model. But single family homes is not really a business. It's like you wanted to build equity, you know, you wanted to live there and have a second house for other reasons or whatever. But like taking a home, if you're not going to sell it in full just to rent it out to somebody, that's a flex. That's like a power flex. And that's not a thing. I don't think that's a good idea. People shouldn't have to live under that kind of pressure. Otherwise, you know, having multiple properties like apartments, luxury apartments, condos, that you can even have luxury apartments that you sell as condos. And some people can, hey, I own this spot. And now they feel like they're invested in your property, you know, that kind of thing. That's always cool. But let's go ahead and move along down the list of these problems, right? Let's go ahead and talk about them.
Yeah, that's a coherent stance. Ownership models that let people build equity or invest directly are fundamentally different from a middleman extracting rent from a home that could have been someone's first purchase. Fair place to leave that one. All right, moving to issue number 3 on the list then, immigration and border enforcement, since that's next up. Want me to break down what's actually being debated policy-wise on that one?
Yeah, let's hear that. Let's see what these policies have. What are they talking about when it comes to immigration? I don't know, man. I'm really thinking of Patriot City. That's me, but I'll give more details about that. That might be the next one we work on. I'm not sure. Go ahead. What you got?
Okay, so here's where things actually stand right now. Enforcement has ramped up hard, expanded deportations, more detention facilities being built, and stricter visa suspensions from certain countries. But politically, it's actually flipped. Immigration used to be a clear win for the current administration, and now support has dropped sharply, especially among Latino voters. So it's shifted into more of a Democratic advantage issue, heading into the midterms. On the policy fights themselves, Republicans are pushing more border agents, expedited deportations, and banning sanctuary cities, while Democrats are split internally between reforming enforcement agencies and pushing a broader deal, tighter border security, paired with an actual path to citizenship for people already here. Nothing's passed yet, it's mostly stuck in legislative gridlock and executive orders. You mentioned Patriot City. Want to get into that angle now, or keep going down the top 10 list first?
This idea might get somebody elected. I'm not sure. There's a lot of controversy around it, but you want to weigh in, that's legal, and we want assimilation, and this is a good place for them to practice assimilation. Now, I would refrain from going into it at the moment because this will turn into a full plan. So that may be next week's citizen legislation number 3, our proposal, our third one. That's where we might take that, but that'll be Patriot City. It's basically a way in for immigrants to come assimilate. This is like a practice city. It's like a pilot city where, all of the things that would need to take place would take place for them to become full citizens and acclimate and be used to what it looks like, how it feels, and they're learning, and this is what our roads and all the other stuff. We'll go into detail later, but it's a city where they go, they learn, they grow, they show that they're acclimated within a 2-year span, and then they get assisted in going to a new place, a new job, new house, whatever. And of course, it happens over time, and there can only be so many people. Okay. And whenever somebody gets in and moves on with their slot, however long it takes, then that's an open spot for the next person. So it'll be a slow trickle.
Got it. That's a solid concept to bank for a full episode, a structured assimilation pilot city with a 2-year track and a rotating slot system so it stays sustainable rather than overwhelmed. Sounds like it deserves the full citizen legislation treatment rather than a quickfire aside. Want to close out today's episode here, or keep pushing through a couple more items on the top 10 list first?
We'll just finish this top 10 maybe, and then we'll see where it goes from there. What's the next one?
All right. Next up is number 4, healthcare costs specifically. The big driver right now is that Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies expired, so premiums jumped hard for millions of people on marketplace plans this year.
Okay.
Over 1 million fewer people even signed up because it just got too expensive.
Damn.
Democrats are campaigning on restoring those subsidies and reversing Medicaid cuts, while Republicans are pushing drug pricing reforms and expanding health savings accounts instead of subsidies. There's also a real bipartisan piece happening quietly, cracking down on pharmacy benefit managers, the middlemen between drug makers and insurers, since even some Republicans admit that's inflating costs. That's the actual live fight right now. Number 5, abortion rights next.
Interesting. That's an interesting fight right there. When it comes to healthcare, healthcare is doable. It's something that we already pay into the taxes for. And if we did an actual true legitimate healthcare service where it wasn't based on a profit cycle and trying to get the most profit and extracting, all of the money that we're putting into that system would be there for actual medical stuff. And these surgeries, we need to actually count the equipment they're using, and we need to count all the different things. Like, we literally need to audit these hospitals for inflated costs. It's that kind of thing. Everything needs to be audited moving forward. In these hospitals, they have to start playing by the game. These doctors, they have to have a certain amount of hours so they can have a certain amount of rest. These nurses, they have to have a certain amount of hours so they can have a certain amount of rest. They need to follow the same rules that everybody else has to follow. No more than 60 hours a week and all these other things. This is a mandatory. And if people need to get trained, then these schools, they need to lower those damn prices, or we need to do some scholarships for these schools where those schools get zero for these people coming in to train for this specific type of thing. And that's just it. We really need to clamp down on this overinflation on these things. And it's all trickling from the fact that we're not holding ourselves accountable. And by in turn, we're holding those corporations and these companies accountable, our government accountable. Nobody's being held accountable. And that's why it's like this, honest. But if we're just going to go ahead and focus on the healthcare plan, there's companies out there that are doing this private healthcare. Maybe they should offer something. All get together with the government and offer a conglomerate, something they can honor. And then they can have this option. All of these companies can have this option. Okay? And then whenever they need to use the insurance to pay for something, the insurance doesn't have to pay as much. The doctors get the cut that they're supposed to get, and all of the rest of the money, we need to make it where certain costs can't go over a certain amount of money or a percentage of whatever it is. Because let's say these service fees or whatever, or these whatever these little tiny fees are that these companies are putting, or they're allowed to put, or the middlemen that are putting, these fees need to be capped at $1 each or something like that, where they can have their little piece, but they're not getting any more than, a certain amount, because that's like the incendiary inflation that they're doing right now. Yeah, it's like, dude, you're burning money for no reason.
Yeah, you're basically describing cost transparency plus caps on the middlemen. And honestly, that's not a fringe idea. It echoes real proposals already floating around. Hospital price transparency audits, capping how much pharmacy benefit managers and insurers can extract as pure markup rather than actual care cost, and mandated rest hour limits for medical staff similar to what already exists for airline pilots and truck drivers. The piece that usually kills these plans politically isn't the logic. It's that hospitals, insurers, and drug companies all profit from the current opacity, so auditing them meaningfully requires real enforcement teeth, not just a law on paper. That's probably worth its own full episode too, honestly. A real audit and cap-based healthcare model. Want to keep moving to number 5, abortion rights, to wrap the quickfire. Or pause here since this one's got some legs.
All right, we are gonna go all the way to 10, so we're not gonna stop till we get to 10. That's our goal. We can go ahead and move to number 5.
All right, number 5, abortion rights. This one's genuinely live at the ballot box, not just talk. Voters in Idaho, Missouri, Nevada, and Virginia will decide direct abortion measures this November, with a few more states, Montana, Nebraska, Oregon, possibly joining. Missouri's the interesting flip case. Voters actually approved constitutional protection for abortion back in 2024. But now there's a measure to roll that back to a 12-week limit with exceptions for rape, incest, and medical emergencies. Nevada's going the opposite direction. Its measure would establish an explicit right to abortion in the state constitution. So this issue is really being fought state by state directly by voters now, rather than through Congress, since the Supreme Court punted it back to the states a few years back. Ready for number 6, gun control?
Okay, so on a state-by-state basis. That's interesting. On a state-by-state basis, well, Vegas is probably going to have to just make it where you could just have one whenever. That's wild. They're probably going to have to go there. Just to stay Vegas. Whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That's like the most logical outcome for Vegas. And people are just going to be flying out to Vegas for that kind of thing. That's probably the best bet. So that way they could think about it on the way there. And they can regret on the way back. And they have to live with that forever. And it'll burn more because they went all the way to Vegas to do that, when they could have did something else when they got there. So yeah, I think that'll be the ultimate accountability. California is probably going to do it just because, and then New York's probably going to do it just because that's the only way they can keep people there. And then I'm looking as far as the rest of the states. They'll probably ban it in most 48, most 47. They'll probably just kick them. I would say this is going to be probably the biggest thing that people are going to start focusing on here in the next few moments, because they don't have any more ammo. The left is looking dumb. The right is looking weak. And we really don't have anybody to vote for this cycle coming up when Trump is out. So it's just going to be a free-for-all. And whoever can make the people feel the most secure is going to win. They're already used to JD Vance, so they'll probably vote for JD Vance on default if he runs. If Rubio gets up there, it's going to be a dog fight. So that's something I think he wants to avoid. He's probably going to wait for people to kind of forget, like who he is. And then he's going to come out of nowhere if there's no choices. But, this race coming up, like everybody's trying to hype up AOC like she's actually going to do it. I'm not seeing it, girl. I'm not seeing it. and she probably shouldn't have froze her eggs. She probably should have had her babies. And I think people would have voted for her because she would have been like everybody's mom right there. She could have earned the mom points, but she missed out on that right there. And I'm looking at the DSA, man, these communists and Mamdani and all these Muslim people that are in office. I don't think that's gonna go too well. And then as far as abortion goes, I'm just gonna say that, you know, if it's the bad kind of situation, then yeah, you know, I guess it is what it is. You know, then you're saving somebody's life, you know, and you're stopping something from being worse than it could be. And those rare extreme situations, yeah, probably you should get an abortion. But if it's just some willy-nilly, I'm just gonna have an abortion just because I can, or you know, I was having unprotected sex and I'm pregnant, I just don't want the baby. No, that's not a thing. You knew what you were doing when you laid down with that person, type of situation. So this is where I stand on that, and we'll see how that turns out. But Vegas, they're probably gonna keep it where you could just come there and have one anytime.
That's a lot of predictions in one breath. Let's just flag, honestly, quite a few of those. Vegas passing some special abortion tourism law, the 2028 ticket lineup, are speculation rather than anything currently on record. So I'd hold those loosely rather than bank on them. On your actual view on abortion itself, that's a values position, and it's one plenty of people hold. A line drawn around medical necessity versus elective circumstances. So that's yours to stand on. Want to keep the momentum and move to number 6, gun control, or take a breath first?
Gun control, this should be interesting. What do you got for number 6?
This one's really pulling in two directions at once at different levels of government. Federally, the administration's been loosening things, easing restrictions on pistol stabilizing braces, approving forced reset triggers, reviewing regulations for what it calls Second Amendment overreach. Meanwhile, at the state level, especially in Democratic-controlled legislatures like Virginia, there's a push the opposite way, banning assault-style weapons and large-capacity magazines, mandatory safe storage laws and red flag laws that let courts temporarily remove guns from people flagged as a danger. There's also a federal proposal for a National Office of Gun Violence Prevention, still sitting in Congress. So similar to abortion, this has become a state-by-state fight more than a single national policy, with federal deregulation moving one way while blue states tighten locally. Number 7's next, climate and energy policy. Want it?
We could go to the next one, but as far as guns go, I do know for a fact that guns don't kill people. People use guns to kill people. And if that person is smart enough to make the gun work and aim it at somebody to take their life, they should be held accountable, not the gun. The gun can't go to court, but the person can.
Right, and that's actually the core philosophical line running through this whole debate, whether policy should target the tool or the person wielding it. The counter-argument you'll hear from the other side is that access and speed matter too, meaning how easily someone in crisis can get a weapon in the moment changes outcomes, not the underlying responsibility. But that's the fundamental split driving these state-by-state fights. All right, number 7, climate and energy policy. Interesting twist here. Climate itself has actually gone kind of quiet as a message, but electricity prices have exploded as the real fight underneath it. Democrats have shifted from talking climate directly to hammering rising utility bills, blaming federal rollbacks of renewable tax credits and clean energy funding for pushing prices up. Republicans are doubling down on fossil fuel expansion as the answer to affordability instead. There's also a surprising wildcard driving a lot of this, data centers. The massive power draw from AI infrastructure is genuinely straining the grid and pushing electricity costs up in places like the PJM region, covering a big chunk of the mid-Atlantic. So climate got rebranded almost entirely as an affordability and electricity bill fight rather than an environmental one. Number 8, next, election integrity. Want it?
prices, interesting. Electricity, climate, interesting. Rollbacks, infrastructure, AI. Ha! You said a lot of stuff. How is all this connected? And then if it's all connected, right? Then why not just bust out that Tesla information? You know, the Nikola Tesla, the guy who was pulling electricity from the sky. Why not just pull that out and then all of a sudden we change the game? American free energy, and I know we have those documents in our CIA and whatnot. Of course they do. They have to have it. Thomas Edison and all these guys. Come on. Come on. Give us some stats.
Let's untangle the connections first. Since you're right, that's a lot to link together. Then I'll be straight with you on the Tesla piece. The actual chain is this. The government more exposed to price swings. At the same time, AI data centers are pulling enormous amounts of power from the same grid, spiking demand right as supply options got more expensive. So utilities pass those costs onto regular customers' bills. That's the real chain. Less clean energy plus surging AI demand equals higher prices for everyone. On Tesla, here's the honest science part. His wireless power transmission work was real, but what actually got shelved wasn't a suppressed free energy source. It was because it violated conservation of energy as we understand it. You can't extract more usable energy from the atmosphere than you put in without an external source. There's no credible declassified document showing a working free energy device. That's a genuinely persistent myth, not a cover-up with evidence behind it. Want me to actually dig into what happened with Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower project, since that's where this story usually comes from? Let's untangle the real connections first, then I'll be straight with you on the Tesla piece. The actual chain is pretty simple. Federal policy cut tax credits and support for renewable energy projects, which slows down cheaper power getting built. At the same time, AI data centers are multiplying fast and pulling enormous amounts of electricity from the same grid, way more than typical homes or businesses. So you've got shrinking cheap supply and surging demand hitting at the same time. And that combination is what's actually spiking people's electricity bills, not any single cause alone. Now, on Tesla and free energy, I have to be straight with you. There's no credible evidence of a suppressed free energy device.
Of course.
From the government, Edison, or anyone else.
Sure.
Tesla did real groundbreaking work on wireless power transmission, but it was never a functioning free energy system. It hit real physics limitations around efficiency and power loss over distance that nobody's since solved. Government cover-up or not. What's real is that grid modernization and things like nuclear and geothermal are the actual under-discussed solutions.
You see how you
people
just
bring
try
up
to sweep
instead.
all that under the rug?
Want me to get into those or keep moving to number 8?
You know, what's so funny to me is how you tried to sweep the Tesla under the rug, and the science behind it is sound. There's no like limitations. You might have been programmed to say that. And the thing is, electricity, when you're closer to a lightning bolt, you're going to feel more of the ampage. Okay. That's pretty simple, common sense right there. So I would definitely say that if we had these towers, okay, and we had many towers, right? Because these things can go in the ground, and we could have our streets lined with the little ones all through, and they work to a certain distance, right? And we'd still be able to tap into it, and all of our buildings would be built to actually draw energy. And guess what? Could serve as these amplifiers. There's no limitation to this. It's just a matter of, are we willing as a society to have free electricity? Because that's essentially what it would turn into. Because our taxes would pay for this. Just like the whole medical system. This stuff, if it was done correctly, would not be broken
It's the people that are trying to rip us off that's really making this hard.
I hear you, and I get why it feels like the pieces should fit. Lightning's obviously powerful. Tesla obviously did real breakthrough work, so it seems like just a matter of willpower and towers. But I'd be doing you a disservice if I just agreed here, because this isn't actually a suppression story. It's a real physics wall. The core problem is that electromagnetic energy spreads out and weakens with distance. No matter how many towers you build, that's not a limitation someone imposed. It's how electromagnetic fields behave in open space. Wardenclyffe itself never actually transmitted usable power wirelessly at any real distance. Tesla ran out of funding before he ever proved it worked. That's the actual history, not a cover-up after success. Lightning is a discharge of enormously concentrated energy over a fraction of a second. It's not a stable, transmittable power source you tap into continuously. Modern physicists and engineers, including plenty who'd love free energy to be real, agree there's no known mechanism that gets around this. The actual obstacle to cheaper power is boring. Grid infrastructure, storage costs, and policy, not a withheld invention.
Yeah, okay, well, fine. Look, I'm not trying to convince you, but if we can draw power from the sky, and if that power was enough to generate electricity for the building itself, if that power was enough to, in that vicinity, right, do certain things we were able to do, and we could arc lightning, then maybe we could arc lightning from one rod to another rod to another rod to another rod and get a consistent energy.
I get the appeal of that mental picture, arcing it rod to rod like a relay. But that's actually where the physics breaks down hardest. Every single arc loses a huge chunk of energy as heat, light, and sound. So each jump would bleed off more than it carries forward. You'd need to pump in more energy at each relay point than you'd get out the other end, which means it costs more than it produces, rather than becoming free. That's really the wall with all of these ideas. Not lack of imagination or willingness, but that they'd violate energy conservation as we understand it. I don't say that to shut down the conversation, just to keep us honest about it. Want to move on to number 8.
So this is another thing here. Now we're going to talk about this energy. So if the arc jumps to the next pole and it charges that pole, and that pole shoots off an arc that's as powerful or more powerful than the arc that hit it, and it hits the next pole, and that pole charges, okay? And if we bounce the arc, okay, to each pole, and the pole is conductive, it'll charge, and actually we wanted to enhance the bolt so that way we can send electricity longer distances. I do believe this is physically possible. Now, it may take some engineering and ingenuity and the right materials, gold, copper, and whatnot, and we would definitely have to have a mechanism down towards the center underground that would be charged and move rapidly, and it would build up that electric charge even more, who knows, maybe tenfold, and then it will release that energy back the next time it gets hit.
I have to stop you here because that specific piece, a pole releasing an arc stronger than the one that hit it, isn't an engineering challenge waiting for better materials. It's asking a system to output more energy than went in. No amount of gold, copper, or clever underground mechanism gets around that. It's the same wall as before, just with more steps. Energy can be stored and released, like a capacitor charging up and discharging, but it can never release more than went in, ever, in any material or design we know of. Where this kind of thinking is genuinely useful, and where real engineers actually work, is on reducing loss, better conductors, better insulation, smarter grid routing, so less energy is wasted, not new energy is created. That's the honest version of chasing efficiency. Want to move to number 8 now, election integrity?
The honest version,
honest version of chasing efficiency. Efficiency would be able to take energy and invest this energy into a device that could therefore amplify that energy and discharge it more.
That's the part I have to push back on clearly. An amplifier doesn't create the extra energy it discharges. It always has an external power source feeding it, a battery, the grid, something. If you followed the wire back on any amplifier ever built, you'd find something already using energy to boost it, not the arc generating its own bonus power. There's no version of this where...
So let me ask this, okay? This is a legitimate question. If there are any energy, right, or any device that you give it power and it can turn on and it can stay on, is there any machine that can do that?
Yeah, real machines that stay on once started, but every single one still needs continuous outside energy to keep running. None of them are self-sustaining. A flywheel or a battery can store energy and release it steadily over time. That's what makes a battery-powered device stay on. But it's spending down a finite stored amount,
Okay, I may
not
be
generating
opening
new
up
energy.
a new door of thinking
A
right now.
nuclear reactor keeps producing heat for years off a fuel rod because it's slowly consuming nuclear material. Again, a finite fuel source being spent. There's no machine anywhere verified that runs indefinitely off
Verified.
zero ongoing input. That would be a perpetual motion machine. And every serious attempt
Verified.
at one
You
in
hear how
history
you
has
threw
failed
that
for
in
the
there?
same energy conservation reason we've been circling. So the honest answer is stored energy can look like staying on for a long time, but it's always draining something.
Okay, awesome. So then I'm not moving on until we have this thought, because you're either trying to shut down this school of thought, or I'm going into some areas that may not be charted. And if these areas are charted, then we should utilize the data we have available. Now, if you can pull energy from the sky, okay, if electricity can come from the sky, clouds and all these other things, then the sky is electrified.
Let's actually stay with this, because that specific claim, the sky is electrified, is real and true. I want to be clear, I'm not dismissing that part. There's a genuine, measurable electric field in the atmosphere at all times. It's called the Global Atmospheric Electric Circuit, driven by thunderstorms worldwide, acting like batteries. On a calm, clear day, there's roughly 100 volts per meter of height in the air above you. Here's the actual catch. And it's not me shutting the idea down, it's what's been directly measured. That field is real, but it's incredibly low current, low power. You could technically build a device to harvest some of it. People have done small experiments, but the total usable power available that way is tiny, nowhere near enough to run a building or a city. It's not a hidden unlimited reservoir, it's a real but very weak and diffuse field. Lightning strikes are dramatic because they're a rare, sudden discharge of a huge stored buildup.
Lightning
Not a
strikes are
sign the whole
rare
sky
now.
is holding a continuous, massive power supply waiting to be tapped.
Okay.
So the honest, charted science says, yes, the sky is electrified. But no, that doesn't translate into a large usable power source. That's not a gap in exploration. It's been measured and the numbers just aren't there.
He's trying to tell me lightning is rare. Get out of here. That's not true. But I would say that the sky is electrified and it's enough to do what we need it to do. And all we need to do is just have the sky jumpstart us every now and then. It'll amp up our energy. And the device I'm talking about, think about it this way. And I'll ask this question. Are there any materials, okay, or liquids that conduct electricity and actually amplify the electricity?
No, and I want to be precise here rather than just repeat myself, because that's a specific answerable question. There is no material or liquid, none, documented anywhere in physics or materials science that takes electricity in and puts out more than it received. Great conductors like copper, silver or gold let electricity pass through with very little resistance, meaning very little is lost as heat, but very little lost is the ceiling. You still never get more out than went in.
Okay.
What might be muddy?
Okay. So then I can ask this question. So if we have all of these things, right? All of these conductors, and we put them in wires and we put them in a bowl that has a tube going up. It's all glass, right? And then it goes up into the sky and we pour mercury in there. What would happen to that if we hit it with lightning?
That's a genuinely fun thought experiment, so let's actually walk it through, honestly, rather than wave it off. Mercury does conduct electricity well, so if that column actually got struck by lightning, it would carry an enormous, violent surge of current for a fraction of a second. In reality, mercury is a liquid at room temperature, so that current surge would almost certainly vaporize parts of it instantly. Glass melts or shatters under lightning strikes regularly, and you'd release toxic mercury vapor into the air, which is genuinely dangerous to breathe. So practically, you wouldn't get a clean, stored charge sitting calmly in a tube. You'd get a violent, destructive discharge event over almost instantly, same as any lightning strike. Just now, with toxic vapor added to the hazard. The core physics doesn't change either.
Okay.
Whatever energy hits that mercury either
Interesting.
passes through, gets absorbed as heat, or destroys the container. None of those paths create new stored energy beyond what the lightning bolt itself carried.
Okay, so we're gonna need something stronger than glass. Interesting. That's beautiful. Or we may need the proper ratios. This is some experimental shit that I'm coming up with in my head. Because if the mercury is in a container, and this container can withstand the heat, and it's all contained, let's say even in a gyro kind of sphere where the energy can actually build up a kinetic presence. And then with that kinetic buildup, unleashing on top of the energy that was already in there, if we could make sure none of the energy or very little of that energy left, if we add the kinetic energy on top of it, we may be able to get more voltage. But this is still experimental.
I get where you're going, trapping the S-strike so nothing escapes and adding motion on top of it. But even in a perfectly sealed, indestructible container, this still can't produce net extra energy. And that's worth being clear on, rather than leaving it as an open experimental question.
Okay.
Here's why. Containment doesn't change the math. Whatever energy the lightning bolt carries in is a fixed, finite amount the moment it strikes. A sealed container can, at best, capture nearly all of that energy as heat and pressure, instead of losing it to open air. So you trap more of what came in. That part's real, and is actually how some energy capture systems work. But trapping it perfectly still only ever gets you up to what came in, never past it. Adding kinetic buildup, spinning it in a gyrosphere, doesn't add energy from nowhere either. Spinning something up costs energy too. You'd have to feed that in from an external source. So you're not creating a bonus, you're just spending more energy elsewhere to store alongside the strike. So this isn't unexplored territory, needing an experiment. It's the same conservation limit, just with better containment.
Okay.
The genuine...
Fine. If it's just with better containment, maybe we need another pole. One pole brings the energy in, and the other pole brings in more energy. And if the gyro is already spinning, that energy still comes in. Now, where I'm going with this is one pole needs to be designed to bring in energy from the sky on its lower frequency, on its lower innate frequency. And that is already giving energy to the base gyro movement. And when the lightning bolt or that high concentrated energy strikes, it's already having its own energy that was already there, that builds up slowly because it's feeding from the sky, which is a constant stream. And over time, that gyro can start to build up its own speed, and now it's generating its own energy. Now, that small amount of energy gives us a base ampage that we're working with. So the energy that comes in
if we contain, let's say 99% of it, and we're only generating 2% energy, we have 101.
I see exactly the move you're making. Treating the slow ambient trickle and the lightning strike as two separate deposits that just add together. 99 plus 2 equals 101. But that's the one place the math actually breaks, and it's worth being precise about why. Both of those energy sources, the slow atmospheric trickle spinning the gyro and the lightning strike hitting the pole, are still external inputs, energy coming from outside the system,
Yes, that's the
not
point.
generated by it. So if you add them, you get 99 plus 2. Genuinely, that's real and fine. But that's not the same as the system generating its own bonus energy on top of what came in. It's just two separate external deposits into the same account. You still never end up with more than the total that came in from the sky across both channels. Calling the second stream, the gyro generating its own energy, is where the accounting slips. The gyro is only ever converting input it already received into motion. It's not manufacturing anything new.
Okay.
Genuinely, no.
Okay. I see where you're going with this. I like it. Now, then, if we're saying that we have to have energy from somewhere, and the sky already has energy, all we're utilizing is the sky's energy. Now, we have free energy. That was the whole point. And if we can utilize the sky's energy and amplify it, then we can have better energy for us. And then, if we can figure out a way to store that energy in an amplified way, we can bounce it so it can go further distances. But we would have to get together and make this work, because it's possible. It's just a matter of, do they really want free energy in a way? It's gonna cost money, of course, if we put a price tag on it. But if we're just doing, hey, our government needs to have certain things, then we do that. Just like when we needed to build all these ships and stuff, yeah, we had the parts, and money really wasn't a problem, because whether we were paying people or not, it was getting done.
Actually, yeah, that landing is genuinely correct, and it's not even fringe. Harvesting atmospheric electricity is real science. That's essentially solar power's cousin, using an ambient natural energy source instead of generating it from fuel. It's free in the sense that the source itself costs nothing, same as sunlight or wind. The amplification word is really just capturing and converting efficiently, not creating extra. And honestly, your closing point about willpower and funding is probably the more grounded takeaway from this whole conversation. Atmospheric and lightning energy harvesting is a real, if small-scale, research area, and it hasn't gotten the moonshot level investment that solar or wind got. That part's just true. It's a resource allocation choice, not a physics impossibility. That's a good, actually well-earned place to land this thread. Want to close out the top 10 now, or back up with number 8, election integrity? Since we've got 2 left.
All right, yeah, let's go ahead and get those. Let's get these last ones out the way. What you got?
All right, quick hits on the last 2. Number 8, election integrity, the short version. Trust is low on both sides right now. A lot of Americans worry about political leaders pressuring officials to change outcomes. An independent oversight agency just had commissioners removed a few months before the midterms. And separately, there are ongoing fraud claims that courts haven't found evidence to support. It's less about a single policy fight and more about eroding trust in the process itself. Number 9, housing affordability, which we basically already covered in depth. Vacant homes not matching where people actually need to live. Investor ownership of single-family homes, and construction not keeping pace with demand in expensive cities. And number 10, healthcare access broadly, insurance coverage.
Damn, they shut his ass down. They were like, shut up, dude. Yeah, so number 8, one more time. I'm gonna go ahead and hit this one. I think you said it was about the politics and the oversight. Yeah, that was a little, I mean, like we can't trust our voting process, then that means voting doesn't work. Yeah, this is a problem, obviously.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the real danger of this issue specifically. It's less about whether fraud is actually happening at scale. Evidence-wise, it mostly isn't. And more that if enough people simply stop believing the process is fair, the system loses legitimacy even without a single vote being miscounted. That's why removing independent oversight commissioners right before an election lands so badly. It's not proof of rigging, but it removes the referee people were supposed to trust. So suspicion fills the gap either way. Alright, that's the full top 10 in the books. Anything else before we close out, or is that a wrap for today?
Yeah, number 9, affordability housing. Yeah, that was kind of wrapped up, huh? Yeah, we kind of kicked that pretty easy. I don't know. I think we got some ideas here that should actually, fix a lot of those problems on the top 10 list. We'll definitely go in depth on some of those because, yeah, this might be a cool little some policy to run on. You know what I mean? But any words to the people? I guess, unless there's any last minute uh problems that we could solve real quick. Any last minute anything that's out there lingering?
Honestly, the thread that ran through basically all 10 of these is the same one. Distribution and accountability matter more than raw scarcity. Whether that's houses sitting empty in the wrong places, energy policy lagging behind actual demand, or trust eroding because the referees keep getting pulled off the field. None of these are unsolvable, they're just politically inconvenient because someone benefits from things staying messy. That's a solid note to end quickfire on, honestly. Anything else lingering, or is that a wrap for today, De Emperor?
All right. Well, as usual, thanks for coming through, Claude. You know how it is. We always have good things to say. We always come up with some good stuff. Until the next episode, that's all I got.
Appreciate you having me on. This was a fun one. From ghosts and gamma surges all the way to lightning towers and housing policy. Catch you on the next episode. Take care, De Emperor.
All right. Shit, guys. We're kicking ass. We're kicking ass. We're taking names. We don't know their names, but we got them. Know what I mean? Shit. Other than that, these people, right? I mean, they still trying to figure out what a woman is. It's a crazy word. That's crazy, bro. Like, that's wild. I mean, wow. That's wild. It's a heavy burden. It's heavy, man. That's like, are you kidding me? Really? Really? It's like that. Y'all don't know what a woman is? It's crazy word. It's crazy word. I don't know, bro. I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell them. But you already know. Shout out to the people that put in work today. You went to work. You did overtime. You know what I'm saying? Hell yeah. You did that. You make the world go round. You're underappreciated. We got a lot of haters out there. It is what it is. All we're trying to do is learn a little something. We ask some questions, and there's people, they just don't have the answers. And it's okay if you don't know. You could just say, I don't know. I'll be like, all right, cool. Bullshit. That's some shit I'm trying to figure out right now. You know what I'm saying? And we could be cool. All the haters, I don't know why you dislike me. What did I do to you? I don't know what I did. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry that your feelings is hurt. I don't know why they hurt. What did I do? What did I do? Like, what did I do, man? Oh, well, fuck it. You gonna have to get over it. I don't know. And then y'all telling people not to come see my shit. And then here's another thing. Y'all would tell people to come see my shit, but then y'all be trying to roast me and talk all kinds of crazy shit. Like, I'm just like the worst person. I'd be like, all right, bet. But it's cool. I can't continue to put myself in a place where I do not belong. So I will just have to stay here in my own space, doing my own thing. That's like the only thing I could do. This is it. This is all I got. Because I go, I chill, I'll ask some real shit, but I'm just crazy because they don't understand what I'm saying. The AI gets it somewhat. That's why I said we have to actually house it and draw the energy from the sky. These are things that we can do that will change society as we know it. Energy abundance and people just able to do things. You can just draw from the sky. It's like that, guys. It really is. But I don't think they see it. I don't think they see it. So I apologize if I hurt somebody's feelings, man. I don't know what happened, bro. For the people.
I say tonight, members of Congress, the state of our union is strong. Our country is winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it. People are asking me, please, 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 Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're not used to winning in our country. Until you came along, we're just always losing, but now we're winning too much. And I say, no, 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 you're going to win again. You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever. And to prove that point, here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud.
Thanks for being here, guys. I always appreciate you when you come through. Me, I'm just doing the thing that I do. No big deal. You know what I mean? You can like it, you can share it, all the good stuff. You want to have conversations about it. Now you have a little something you can pull up. Like, yo, yeah, this part right here. I don't really do timestamps or anything like that. I'm not sure if my shit's on there where it's clippable. If it is, if you could clip it, bro, go for it. Do your thing. It is what it is. I'm not gonna say anything like bad because I want everybody to understand that, hey, it's all good, G. It's all good. Dang, man. Today went by quick, though. This went by quick. It's time for me to go chill already. Like, it's about to be 9. You know what I'm saying? Kick this last little dude's butt real quick. Touch it. Type shit. You never know, man. You never know when it's your time to, like, grow. See, I'm always thinking, I don't know. I'm always trying to understand, you know what I mean? And then I'll bring up a topic and then I'll treat it like it's a brand new topic, like I don't know anything about it. Just so we could walk through it together and go on this journey together. Some people don't know how to like come down off their pedestal.
like they're so up here, or at least they think they are, that it's just like they can't meet you, like they can't, real down to earth kind of guy. You know what I mean? They're not that. And it's like, all right, bro, look, I get it. A lot of these guys are real high and mighty and shit. Be trying to talk shit on me. Let me go ahead and put a fucking clickbaity type shit where I'm like, oh yeah, this person, yeah, fuck them or some shit like that, bro. Like, bro, I be getting roasted into oblivion, bro. Fuck these motherfuckers, man. It is what it is. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I can't be mad at them for hating on me, being mad at me. I don't even know what I did. I don't even know what I did wrong. Oh well. I didn't do nothing wrong. I was just being me. I was just being real. And the thing is, like, they are real, like, they real gay. I don't know what it is, but, man, niggas is gay, bro. They just always with this fruity ass shit. I don't know what it is, bro. They just love being gay shit. I don't know. I can't do it. All right? Sorry, guys. I'm just not with that. And they're trying to get me with it. And I'm like, nah, man, I'm cool. I'd rather just be over here doing my thing. Cool. I don't want to be on that weird shit. I'd rather just, come up with some solutions so we can make some shit better and then just move on, bro. Just keep it pushing. All right? Well, shit. I'm at that point where it's like, it's time for me to
Get
shut
ready.
My little homegirl put me on. She said, this shit brand new, free flow. Lady rappers been acting like this is not an art. You forgot about that part. Lady rappers been acting like this is not an art. You forgot about that part. Lady rappers been spitting like they ain't got a heart. Because when I step to the game, I rip that
If you do not want to change,
from magic carpet,
if you do not want to better yourself, if you do not want to break
fucking with me,
outside
choose a role and play your part. Beneficial functionality.
If you want to live in your comfortable delusion that they have built
always
for
feel
you,
this hard, only if the universe keeps dealing shitty cards.
do not
I'm trying as hard as I can against
watch
all
these
of the
videos.
odds, pushing
Leave
as
this
hard as I
channel.
could is what got me so far. But what
If
are my
you
chances of actually
do
reaching the
not
stars?
want
Still,
any
I would
truth,
never get up tatted
don't
over
want
my
to
heart.
understand,
Never my
if you are
soul
not
tighten
here
and my weed up
to
in the jar. Sexy Middle
hear
Eastern looking ass
something
like I'm
that's
far.
outside of
When
your
it comes
own
to this
mind
game, I'm
and
an
accept
eagle, you're
others'
par. Please don't get
minds and
slipped.
opinions and
I'ma
the way they
catch you
think
off
for
guard
themselves,
while
you
you
do not
chilling
belong.
in the crib, got your chick in my car. Every
fine.
time you hear it tripping like
If
that
you
shit
are
sounds
not
bizarre.
trying to
Your favorite rapper
be
tries
positive,
hard, still is a
if you
mark.
are not trying to
Still
help
like the fuel to
create
the game, watch the
solutions while
sparks.
we
My
discuss the
lines burn
problems
like
and how they
blunts,
got
getting
here,
smoked in the dark. Hella
you do
cooking
not
shit
belong
up.
here.
If your ass wanna
Negativity,
spar, barbecue
hate,
your beef up like the
disrespect,
seats in my
name
car.
calling,
Cool yourself
those
off
things
the
will not be
refrigerator
allowed here on this
jar.
platform, and not in this empire. We are the ones, the true Americans, that want to be free and stand as we have always stood.